Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to episode 49 of Bucs UK TV. I'm joined by Tim and Phil in their usual Dungeons of Doom. But Marianna, you're joining us as well, and it looks like you're on an island somewhere.
Yeah. It's a little bit cold. I put my hat on, but I'll take it off because it's not really that cold because I'm actually in my hotel. But in the background, you can see we're in Vik in Iceland. So I'm joining you from Iceland this week.
Fantastic. And Phil cracked the joke before you joined, asking what time they close. So I apologise in advance. So without any further ado, we shall move straight on to our review of the magnificent performance that was the Chicago Bears game. So Marianna, you get first dibs because you've come the furthest away. It was a joy to watch, wasn't it?
The first half, I would say, was an absolute joy to watch. Brady was on form, as we know. Mike Evans, wonderful. Second half, I'm not sure I kind of switched off at that point, but I think so did all of the team as well. So.
Yeah, it did feel that way, didn't it? Phil, was it a game of two halves?
Yeah, very much so. But I thought it was very, very interesting. The big two difference with the two quarterbacks was obviously Brady had time to throw the ball and do what I do, and Fields had no time. And there would be the big thing. You know, we've got a team. The offensive line I thought was magnificent again. And against what was the seventh defense in the league. So yeah, fantastic result. Well,
that's a good segue into talking about the O then. Tim, I mean, it's not often I can say the Bucs scored nearly 40 points, and yet it was the third highest score total we've had this year.
Yeah, this offense is a machine. No doubt about it. Led by easily the greatest player of all time, but it was also set up by a defense with dominating field position. When I looked through this morning, or this evening, I'm sorry, drive started Chicago 43, Bucs 16, Chicago 40, 35. Our longest drive was 75 yards and another 48-yard drive. When you've got that dominating field position, you're giving the ball to Brady with this offense.
I know he let me down in fantasy football this week. Like I say, barely any yards, but made up for it on the touchdown side.
Yeah.
But Phil, you mentioned the O line, and I think that was a big deal breaker, but not just in the passing game, but in the running game too.
Oh yeah. We've at last got a running game. You know, Fournette is looking like a real stalwart, proper runner now. And in all fairness, Jones did all right when he came on. And for the first time in years, we've now at long time got a running game. But I will say one thing about it is I read somewhere this week, OJ Howard, they're on about trading him. OJ Howard's doing a good job. He's taking Gronk out. He's on that line, defending. And in all fairness, I think he's doing a damn good job as well. It's nice to see him getting back into the mix. But I can't believe I'm actually saying this after the couple of years. We've probably got one of the best O-lines in football.
I would agree.
I think that's telling. The Bucs have updated their the depth chart on their website because I was looking earlier. Gronk is back down as one of the starting tight ends, and OJ Howard is the other one. So it's Cam seems to be the odd man out at the moment. And would it be fair to say I think he had a bit of a letdown, didn't he, Marianna? He was one of the less bright spots, I thought.
Yeah, he had a pass that came more or less straight into his chest in that was for a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and it kind of just bounced out. I mean, I think we're all so used to Cam having such safe hands that would have been a touchdown on any other day. I'm not going to chuck the baby out with bathwater. I think one bad day for Cam Brate. He's been so good for us consistently. I'm with Phil, though, 100% on the fact that, you know, it's nice to see OJ Howard. And I did call it out a couple of pods ago that, you know, it's good to see OJ Howard stepping up and you know, being in the mix now within the tight ends, which 5 years ago we would have never expected. He's finally doing that. He's finally stepping up. Maybe it's taken him a few years and he's got through some bad injuries as well. But it's good to see him really stepping up and playing at tight end in a really good way now while Gronk is out. Sorry, I just hope they don't drop him immediately as Gronk comes back.
I think that's right. And what's nice, I think, is that Cam normally brings a very safe pair of hands, but is not the blocking back that Gronk is. Gronk obviously has the blocking and the hands, but probably isn't quite the sprint master that he was. So we're all hoping that OJ can be the triple threat in that regard, aren't we?
He did do a lot when he was playing for Alabama. That was one of his he used to block on the O line there as well. So he's just. I just think that OJ's just filling in. He's like the new Gronk coming through. Hopefully, you know, but he's done a superb job. Because let's face it wasn't last year. We weren't going very well until Gronk stayed on the O line and started helping with the blocking. That's when things started to improve. You know.
The one thing I picked up more than anything from Sunday, and I wrote it down as more balance. That is the most balance I've seen us play since Brady has come into the league. Now, field position and everything will dominate that. The offensive line, you know, Phil said really good. I will pick somebody out. I picked it out when we interviewed Ali Marpet, was his pull-in to release Fournette. Cast your mind back to watch Donovan Smith on the outside, throwing the block 20 yards downfield. I don't think I've ever seen him that far downfield in his career. And the little dance on the side was quite funny at the end of that play as well. But I like the balance. Leonard Fournette now is RB1 without a shadow of doubt. But that provides our balance. Ronald Jones is much better off the bench than a lead back. When he comes in, a weakened defense, he runs with power, in fairness to him, and aggressiveness. He's not so good as running back one. So I think they've now got that balance much better.
Yeah,
100%, Tim. You're like I will say that I did stamp my thing on Lenny Fournette as soon as he came in. He's a first round pick that we got for next to nothing, with only realistically 3 years on him because he'd had a year out injured. He is proving himself as a first round pick sort of running back. He's absolutely running. If you compare him to a Derrick Henry who came out in the same draft as him, I think he stands up to him. I really do. He is running at that level now again. But as you say, now when they bring in Jones, we've got that balance now that we can bring Jones in, and Jones runs against the weakened defense, and he's got the speed and the sort of agility to now get through.
Yeah.
And we're seeing numbers out of both of them.
Yeah. I never doubted Fournette's running ability. His catching ability was slightly more suspect. But he seemed to have done some work on that over the last couple of weeks. He had some terrible drops week 2, week 3, looked ugly. You know, no coordination at all. And
it caused one of Brady's interceptions week 1.
Yeah. So, he has established it. And now, Marianna, as you said, the 4th pick of the draft now for next to nothing with no miles on the clock. If we can re-sign him now after this season, who knows?
The other thing is as well, you know, as we go down the stretch, I've always been a big fan of Giovanni Bernard as well, because he's probably one of the best catching running backs in the league. And when he gets up to speed with everything, because let's face it, he is a new player, I think you're going to see a lot more of him as well. Because you know how Brady loves throwing to his running backs. And you watch Bernard go a bit more.
He has had some bright moments. I think And we should probably come on and talk about some of the players that we don't talk about as much, because of course the Bucs by the end of the game were rotating people through. So let's sticking with the running back camp and maybe going back to QB. I mean, Kieron Vaughn and Blaine Gabbert managed to hit the field, and actually, I think what we saw was quite encouraging, wasn't it, Marianna? Maybe.
I actually thought when Kieron Vaughn came on, he came out and he proved that he wanted to sort of stamp his mark on the game. He knows he's probably only going to get 2 or 3 chances in a game like that. He's hoping for a blowout game like this to have a shot, have a go at it. So, this was his opportunity, and I think he took it.
And Tim, tell us about Gabbert. Are we going to be buying Gabbert jerseys in the future?
Honestly, probably not. But as an efficient quarterback, much more effective than the likes of Ryan Griffin coming off the bench. So if you had to put Blaine Gabbert in a game, would he win many games for you? Possibly not. But would he lose less? Probably. So that's all you want out of your quarterback. Somebody who's not going to give it away. Plus also hoping he never hits the field.
Well, one thing I will say about all the running backs, and one thing that stood out for me this year is ball security. Ronald Jones was plagued by his whole career, and Leonard Fournette wasn't too clever at it. But they're pretty safe hands now on our running backs, and that's a big thing. No mistakes.
But that's the same all around the team. They're a good hands team.
Yeah.
When you look at it, Godwin, Brown, Gronk, Brate, if you ignore a couple of drops on there. The only one who drops some easier one, should I say, and I hate to say it because he's a Hall of Fame receiver, is Mike Evans.
He did, yeah.
It's like he doesn't concentrate sometimes. But
well, I think Godwin as well. I think Godwin had one deep pass down to the left-hand corner near the end zone. I think if he'd have caught that, it could have easily been 6.
Yeah. You can't complain at Godwin. If you look at his, you look at the stats for the game, he had the most yards, he had the most receptions. He led the team. You don't realise it because he does it very quietly. He does it off a lot of short stuff, and he does a lot of sort of jet sweep type things. But one drop pass. Sorry, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. What I would say, guys, is we are picking holes in something that's really not there. This is the best offense Phil and I have seen in all the years we've been going out to watch Tampa.
Definitely.
By a mile.
I will say one thing. Mike Evans certainly didn't concentrate when he gave that ball to that guy in the crowd.
No. But wasn't the guy in the crowd pleased?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody said in his interview, he said, "Why didn't you get the ball, run out of the stadium?" He said, "Because I came with somebody else. I have to wait for an Uber."
All he wants is a round of golf, isn't it, with Brady?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I know in my luck, I would have dropped it.
Okay, so we don't want to poke holes in something that doesn't exist. Let's move to the other side of the ball. And actually, on D, Coach Arians seemed to give a little bit more of the win, really, to the D than he did to the O. I mean, Marianna, where were the highlights? Where were the shortcomings on D?
For me, the shortcomings on D, I would say, are actually quite hard to pick out. I was actually quite surprised by some of the guys again stepping up, and I've said this before. It's a nice surprise when you get the guys stepping up, and you have Desir getting them in, you have Delaney getting them in. So you get like guys that are stepping up into those positions, getting their interceptions. Probably again, I don't know. It's actually quite hard to pick because particularly in the second half, I think it was much more D than offense.
And they rotated through. And what was nice was they rotated through, and there wasn't a drop off. Like you said, on the forum, I was desperately trying to get a Delaney or Daney chant going, but no one was having any of it. So fair enough. But Tim, I think the bit of the D that we're often worried about is the secondary. But as Marianna said, it seemed to come together on the night.
Yeah, the secondary held up well, but I wouldn't read too much into that. That was dominated by our front four, who gave Fields no time. When he had some time, he showed he could throw the ball. But then you had people like Allen Robinson for the bit, who didn't look interested because they were getting beaten up in all aspects of the game. And I put that to our front four. all the interceptions came from our front four. They were right in Fields' face the whole game. Barrett, JPP, Vita Vea, just throwing people around. It was just that constant pressure up front. And when you get a rookie quarterback with constant pressure, you get turnovers.
And what was nice is that he's a mobile quarterback, and he wasn't nearly as dangerous as he probably could have been.
No,
But
but we got to him. We recognised their rookie left tackle coming in off the bench at the last moment, and we just went straight at him from the word go. And that's why he got benched. You know, he was benched just after the first quarter because he couldn't cope with Barrett off the edge particularly.
And talking about that front group of defenders, Phil, what do we think about the Bears' running game? Because that can't have been by design.
No, they've got this new lad, haven't they? The name escaped. I've forgotten his name.
Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert. That's it. Yeah. And he did very well, didn't he? He did very for saying he's a 6th-round rookie. He did exceptionally well. And they are pretty well banged up in that area. So yeah, I was a bit surprised at the yards that lad got, but they were that concentrated on Fields going at him. It was just. I mean, that first hit, was it Winfield who put it on Fields? Made me wince. Oh dear. You know.
I mean, that's true. And in all 3 phases, the start to the game was electric, wasn't it?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I can only dream of what it was like in the stadium. There should have been beer flying everywhere, and
I should have been there.
Do you know the one thing that we was on about Desir and Delaney, and if we'd have mentioned those two at the beginning of the game season against the Cowboys, you'd have gone who? I wonder how much credit's been going to give to Richard Sherman on this, because I just thought those headsets suited him quite a lot actually. And when you've got somebody like Richard Sherman, you've got young kids, that's Richard Sherman, future Hall of Fame cornerback, giving he's got to rub off, because to me, I thought, we weren't playing a bad offensive team, and I thought they played some of the best football they played all season in the secondary. So
the commentators implied he's not interested coaching long term. Maybe I don't know how true that is, and of course we were seeing him with his headset on, but the microphone, you can't hear me. The microphone was up. So I don't know how much he's talking to anyone, but maybe he's more one-to-one on the sideline. He's pointing things out.
Well, let's just say that they played a whole lot better than they have in previous weeks, shall we? Let's just wonder if we give him any credit at all, because he's got a wealth of information.
And then we've saved the best till last. Special teams finally deserves the word special in the title. Marianna, I can't have been the only one bouncing off my seat.
Oh, are you talking about Suckup? Oh no, you're talking about Darden. I see. Yeah.
I'm talking about all of them.
Yeah, I mean Darden. I did say I was all in on the Darden camp before. Again, like I thought he just had something about him, and it was just so nice to see him explode for that run. And I know after that it kind of went quiet, but they were kicking a lot away from him. They suddenly realised, oh, we've got someone there that's a bit dangerous. But I was with you. I was bouncing out my seat when that happened.
Yeah, it was nice to have a return that started up the field rather than sideways.
Yeah.
If you watch Briggs every time, he takes 2 steps forward, then he immediately goes towards the sideline.
The difference is inches, because every time he was running up the middle, there was a grab, a jersey, a handout, and he just had that speed and that elusiveness to get around it. For what I think was 43 yards, is the longest punt return of the season so far.
Yeah.
And again, BA in the post-game presser was, maybe next time he won't, get too excited and slow up and actually run it in. So he seems to think he could have gone all the way.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if he pulled up with a bit of an injury as he went just into the sideline. You could see him pull up pretty quickly. So whether he tightened up and so on. But you are right. He should have run the kicker anyway.
He has been suffering from a hamstring, hasn't he? He's been in and out with a hamstring. So maybe
again, he was rotating in on a few offensive plays as well, wasn't he? So again, it was good to see everyone, next man up, and it's still coming off. but Phil, obviously, I think Suckup had one miss, didn't he? But it wasn't so bad. And Pinion seemed to be pinning them deep. It was just, and the coverage was good. So, I mean, in terms of like our magic wand for what we need to improve going forward on this team, where are you gonna wave it?
Well, that's it. We're just struggling a bit with this magic wand just recently. Well, I go to the secondary again. I hope we can improve. We can carry on what we started against the Bears and carry it forward to the next game, because I thought they to me were mainly very much improved. But one thing I will say about our defense, we're one defense without JPP. We're a different defense with him. I think that man takes a lot. He's the leader of our defense. There's no two ways about that. Really rated. But as far as Magic Wand's concerned, I'm struggling. I just hope the.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, JPP, as I think, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, he's got a bit of a reputation as being a bit wild, a bit crazy, a bit sort of anti-establishment. But all the sort of mic'd up and all the clips I've seen, he's focused. He knows this is a team that's his best shot of winning. And he's like, he's leading. He's become a leader.
Yeah. Oh, he's the leader of the defense.
What a great signing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And whilst Levante is my magic wand. I mean, all signs point to him being back, but I want him back and staying back, because I didn't like having him out.
Yeah. Well, my magic wand is linked to that, because it goes to the trainers and the conditioners, getting him, Carlton Davis, Antonio Brown, all those people. My bit to finish was get through this week and onto the bye, and then get healthy.
Yeah.
For the push.
Yeah, I mean, the bye comes at the perfect time, doesn't it, Marianna? We're so lucky that ever since we've had Brady, we seem to have prime time games and the bye when we want it, and finishing indoors in the winter.
It is. It's kind of strange like that. I think if I was going to wave a magic wand, I'd go a little bit like Gary did a couple of pods ago, and just say, like, let's try and just keep other players healthy as well. Let's just keep all our other depth players as well, and let's not keep seeing like an injury a game, which we seem to have had. I think we actually got through this one without seeing a player go off injured. I'm trying to think now. Maybe we can keep that going now. We can keep that sort of, let's get through the next 3 games, and as you say, let's get into the bye, get the other players healthy, and come out the other side and keep players healthy into the playoffs, he says.
Can I wave not a magic wand, but a desire? We came off that game with 1 penalty. Let's keep that standard of discipline up, because we've been awful all season. 1 penalty all day on Sunday. And
it wasn't just 1 penalty in the sense, but it was the lack of defensive pass interference penalties. So the chunk plays, that's the new buzz phrase that everyone seems to be talking about this year for some reason. It's all about chunk plays. They weren't those chunk plays giving away, were they? So cool.
Very impressive.
Can I just say though, we are 6-1.
Yeah.
We are.
For the first time ever.
6-1. So here we are trying to pick holes in our 6-1.
And in terms of working out who's who on the league and the power rankings, the fact that the Rams beat us, the Rams have gone on and struggled since. So peaking at the right time, that's what we're interested in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we get these players back for the stretch, like Tim said. That's when we really will kick on.
And Gary was talking to Gary during the week, and actually he thinks it's not just about getting them back, but it's about getting them back healthier, because they won't have as many games on the clock in a 17-game season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 70s game is important. But
that's how much of a salesman he is. Gary tried to persuade me that injuries is actually a positive.
Yeah. But I was looking at it, and until we play Buffalo, there are 4 to 5 more winnable games. We could be heading to Buffalo. I think it's either 10-1 or 11-1.
So first of all, we had Andy, a stress-free game, enjoyable weekend on fantasy, and repping the Bucs on the first day of half-term with the family. Winning. Very good. We were like that as well. Certainly, people got to stay up a little bit later in our house as well to watch some of it. I think the same was in Wayne's household. Well, ladies and gents, I've not had that much fun since we played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. A good all-round performance there. Offense was slick to start with. The D were good. Pressure on their QB, but the secondary is still a concern. And lastly, Pete, call me greedy, but I'm still hankering after this 50 burger everyone keeps talking about. We left way too many points out there. I think Bruce agrees with you. Phil, do you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was the difference between the two quarterbacks. You saw Fields sitting there with his arms folded, looking like his mum had just told him he had to come in early. And he got Brady, when they interviewed Brady after the game, he said, yeah, it was all right, but I left too many points out on the field today. That just shows the big difference between the two.
I mean, I admit we got
Massive.
carried away. At one point, I was Googling most touchdown passes by a quarterback and things. And, clearly, but the fact that we then committed to the run, I think does show we weren't going after records for the sake of it. But let's be honest, there's only one game we care about now, and that game is against the New Orleans Saints.
Cool. We played the Saints this week. I missed that. I'll have to look at quarterbacks then. No.
I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Painful.
So this is the Winston Bowl. I've already seen two separate websites refer to it as that. I mean, Tim, is it the Winston Bowl or is that just a byline?
We don't care. The Bucs don't care, and we don't care. Winston was a Buc, is no longer a Buc. You could say that about loads of games around the league. But no, this is all about the Bucs going into New Orleans, into one of the loudest stadiums around as we know, and silencing one of the arch enemies in the division. And this is a big game. They're at 4-2. If we can win this game, go 7-1 against 4-3. Forget Atlanta and Carolina. They're not going to really challenge. And the Saints, if we can take them on Sunday, it's a big hurdle for them to overcome.
And that's right, we're 1-0. We're 1-0 in the division rankings as well. So Sean Payton knows this is his best chance of the playoffs, is winning that division tiebreaker.
Yeah. But when you watch New Orleans, Gary made a reference about me dropping a couple of balls, I believe, in the last 24 hours of the Saints receivers. My usual thing, if you stop Kamara and you force Winston to beat you.
Well, that's a really good point, and I think they are one of only a handful, around 3 teams that still are running the ball more than they are passing the ball. And I guess you have to have a Derrick Henry or an Alvin Kamara to do that, don't you, Marianna?
I mean, I love Alvin Kamara. He's my fantasy go-to, but
not this week.
Not this week. And as you say, you need to have a player of that sort of caliber to be able to run the ball like that. He doesn't just run; he catches. We all know he's that sort of versatile running back. I think we've got to not forget about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was out this week, I think, with a concussion. He's probably going to be back. So he's always that sort of little change-up player as well. And he might just come in and, he'll do something, he'll run, because I think actually Winston got 40 yards this weekend. So, he kind of stepped up.
I think he had about 8 or 9 yards a carry. He was the leading average rusher, at least. So it feels like we're going to need to spy him. So Levante better be on top form. Him and Devin.
Right, he'll be back. We've got all our fingers crossed. We do well against mobile quarterbacks. We seem to do well against them. So to me, with this, it's stop Alvin Kamara. We've really got to stop Alvin Kamara and stop him both in the run game and also when he's coming out and catching out of the backfield as well. He's their key player. If you can stop him, they're going to become a bit one-dimensional, and hopefully Winston will start throwing it up. And we know we can get interceptions off of him.
That's really true, yeah, Phil. I mean, Marianna's right. If we can put them into a one-dimensional game set, because it seems like Peyton's got quite a tight leash on Winston at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I was thinking that, but I can't. Every time I look at Jameis Winston, I can't help but thinking what he did after they beat us last year when they were interviewing Breeze and he came in and did the finger thing. They aren't going to forget that in a big rush. And but yeah, I think so. I think you're right. The thing is, he's got to keep us tight with rain on Winston because I don't think he's going to do it on Sunday. I really don't. I really don't. But you've got to stop Kamara. And what concerned me is that Herbert got 100. Was he got 100 yards, didn't he, on Sunday? And he didn't.
Over 100. You
give Kamara that sort of freedom, and he's going to run all over you. So forget Winston. Just keep Kamara in because let's face it, we're one of the best run stop defenses in the NFL. So if we stop him, I don't think we'll have a problem.
I'll reference Kamara like he used to with Vic and so on. You stick Brooks on Vic, you stick White on Kamara, and then your front four takes on what is a much better offensive line, and that'll be a challenge. That offensive line in New Orleans is one of the top 4 or 5 in the league.
Yes, yeah,
and we are going to have to work hard to get that pressure to Winston like we did to Fields. It's not going to be as easy. So you let White take care of Kamara.
I mean, it's very easy to focus on the Saints' offensive side of the ball. I guess that's where the sexiness lies. But the reason they've been winning 13-10 is because they've only been giving up 10 points. So I think you probably have to go to the other side of the ball and the wrath of Quan as well. We're playing the ex-Buccaneer Bowl, and they've still got that secondary that we know is ball hawking and hard hitting. The front 7 is not stupid. I mean, Marianna, you're shaking your head. I'm more worried about that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Cam Jordan, isn't it? The DE I think he's the one to worry about, really. He's the sort of like dangerous player there that might and we've got to protect Brady from someone like that. I know he's got a lot of sort of good moves. Everyone talks about, he's got a great swim move. He's got so I think we need to protect against him. I don't want to talk about expert players, so I'm not going to mention Quan Alexander, but I'm going to go. So I did, but I'm going to go with Cam Jordan. Let's like defend against him. Let's stop him from getting into Brady. And with what our O-line's been doing lately, I think we can. I really do think we can, particularly if we use the tight ends again, in combination and kind of use them to the best. I mean, a few plays, and I'm sure everyone saw it. We had like 7 O-line lined up for some run plays and stuff. So let's just use our O-line smartly and make sure that we keep Brady upright.
So the ones to watch is Cam Jordan for you for the Saints, and then probably our tight end, Hareem, Camp, Tent, Group, whatever we want to call them, on our side of the ball.
Absolutely.
Phil, who are the people you're on the lookout for?
Well, I was going on here Cam Jordan as well, but I think that defense there over in New Orleans has always been one of the top defenses in the NFL for many years. It's what's kept them going. And I've got this all down here that I think they've got to sort of virtually leave Howard on the offensive line to protect Brady. And I think I'm not too concerned about this. I think that if we can keep Brady upright, we're going to have a problem.
Good. And I think what's interesting is the other end of that line from Cam Jordan is Marcus Davenport. And it kind of feels like a bit of a 1-2 punch again. It's you might be able to cover JPP, but then Shaq gets through. And it feels the similar way. You've got to see which side the ball's coming from. And, if we've only got one tight end normally down blocking, so that's going to mean the running back, whether it's Gio or Rojo or Lenny, whatever we're calling him now, all season long Lenny or whatever his appropriate name is. Whoever picks up that other free attacker is going to be really important. What about for the Bucs then? You think it's just the line generally?
I would pick our defensive line.
Okay.
If we can keep Kamara contained and get pressure onto Winston, then it should be a reasonably comfortable afternoon for us, I believe.
We just did a good day in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, the game is always won in the trenches, and these two lines are good on both sides of the field. So that's when it's really going to be won this week.
I think, as you say, the penalties are going to be really key. If both of our lines can keep the penalties down, particularly the O-line, they've had a couple of holding calls, particularly off my favourite player, Donovan Smith, who's got some holding calls at bad times occasionally. If we can keep those penalties down, as you say, like this week we did, then we've got every chance, as you say, win it in the trenches.
I think also in the back end, so the two names that struck out to me, Marshawn Lattimore and Malcolm Jenkins. I have no doubt that Brady will be aware of where they are, and hopefully the brown round thing doesn't go too near them.
And don't forget that Evans has got a bit of history as well with these as well. So
yeah,
they were sticking up for Jameis at the time. Jameis with the finger tackle.
Yeah.
We shall see. Good. Someone will be eating the W's. We just hope it's not them.
Yeah. No, fairly confident.
I'm a bit stuck with that one in my mind. I won't forget that one in a big rush.
So we've got to work out whether we think this is going to be a whitewash, a drubbing, close, overtime, and a kick. What Tim? What do you think this the scoreboard's going to look like at the end of this?
Scoreboard's going to look very favourable at 31-17 Bucs.
Okay, that's not bad to go into the dome and do that, Phil.
Yeah.
I think a bit closer than that, 24-17 Bucs.
Okay. Marianna?
I've got to go Bucs, but I'm like 28, 21, something like that.
Okay.
I feel like it'll be the last man up.
And I think I agree with you all. This this game, to me, I know we say it every week, is this the trap game? Is this the trap game? This feels like it could be the trap game. Sean Payton, if he had any of his soul left to sell, it feels like he would be hawking that last piece for a win today, on Sunday. And I can just see Jameis is going to be fired up for this. We don't care about Jameis, but they care about Jameis, and Jameis cares about Jameis, and he feels like he's got something to prove. And we know that he can sling that ball long. So I think it could go one way or the other. I'm thinking we could easily see overtime. But I'm going to say Bucs win, but I'm probably not going to put a number on it. Watch this space. Well, you've heard it here. If you agree with us, then tell us so in the comments. Give us the thumbs up. If you don't, tell us in the comments what you think the score is going to be. And then if you get it right, you get bragging rights over all of us. So, Marianna, thank you for joining us from your own time zone.
Thank you.
And thank you to Phil and Tim. And you guys are going to be out there in a few weeks' time, and hopefully we're going to try and get you on the podcast live, aren't we?
Fingers crossed we'll get it sorted.
Let's hope the Tampa Wi-Fi is up to it. So thanks, everyone, and go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.